What's up? So, John just did his top 10. So now I'm gonna get mine. And you're gonna sit here, you're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna go back and you're gonna listen to what I fucking have on my list again, aren't you? Because it's a really good list, isn't it, John?
I don't even know it yet.
I've known John's list for some time now, but I refused to deflower mine. I refused. I said, absolutely not. You're gonna wait until it's time to actually do the reviews and stuff and do the list. So here we are, about to approach 2017. We just lost Carrie Fisher today. We're really upset about that. So if we seem bummed, it's because Princess Leia has joined the Force. So the rules are the same as they were last year. You get 10 picks. They all have to be albums that we reviewed throughout the year. So, this is a very diverse list of albums. The list could look one way or completely different depending on how we shifted it. So, I tried to make the most complete list that I could. So let's get on to it. Coming up at number 10, we have Hatebreed, Concrete Confessional, right? The new Hatebreed record. That record freaking slayed. But I just remember it being blown away because I was just like, dude, it's about time we got another Hatebreed record. Hatebreed needs absolutely no introduction whatsoever. It was kind of a record that snuck up on me a little bit because it had been several years since another Hatebreed record had come out. Hatebreed is an amazingly heavy band, and everybody knows me knows that my music taste is just the heavier the better. So I had to score Hatebreed on this list at some point. So they rank in at number 10 for just doing an amazing job at making a great heavy record that was, slamming from start to finish. Coming in at number 9, we have the new Mark Tremonti record, right?
Dust?
Yes. Yeah. It's taken me a little while to get to this point, but I've always had an admiration. When I was much younger, I really liked Creed, and a lot of people are gonna be like, "Wow, that's crazy!" Josh, how did you get this out of touch with where you were then? The part that I really always liked about Creed was their songwriting, and Mark Tremonti was a huge part of that. And he's had Tremonti as another side project. Creed doesn't play anymore, write material anymore since Full Circle, but. Mark Tremonti is one of those guitarist players that is very good at making very catchy songs with utilizing all different types of song structures, like open chords. Like the way that he plays has always been very appealing to me, and his soloing has gotten significantly better over the years. And he really showcases it in Tremonti. I feel like he has a little bit more creative input now. Obviously, I just really liked how this showcased his new songwriting, and I'm more excited to see now what Tremonti does after this record because I feel like it was kind of a decent step forward for him. Coming in at number 8, we have 12 Foot Ninja. So this is 12 Foot Ninja's second record, and we were waiting. It's out there, obviously, and we were. I've been waiting since the previous 12 Foot Ninja record, to hear something from these guys. They were just so. I kept hearing about them and hearing about them and hearing about them. And I remember the first time I listened to them, how different they were musically. Their songs were just so abstract and just not what I expected. I expected them to just be straight heavy for some reason. I'd been constantly hearing about them in, different communities and stuff online, and people were talking about 12 Foot Ninja in communities that I wouldn't think after listening to them would really be interested in this, but the very progressive kind of jazz almost. I was really happy with this 12 Foot Ninja record this year. I do actually pop that one in. So 12 Foot Ninja. If you didn't watch the review, go check that out. But definitely check that out if you haven't listened to it because it has a lot to offer. Even if you're not a super hardcore heavy kind of metal person, even if you liked jazz, I would still recommend listening to 12 Foot Ninja record because it's just very diverse and interesting. Coming in at number 7. Yes, 7. Right? Yeah. We have Megadeth, Dystopia.
Dystopia.
Dystopia. Megadeth is another one. Needs absolutely no introduction at all. We got 3 records from the Big 4. One from Anthrax, we got one from Megadeth, and now we got one from Metallica. Now, in hindsight, that Metallica's record was released. Obviously, we reviewed Megadeth's record a lot earlier than the Metallica record. But now, in a kind of hindsight view of, being able to talk about, which one I think was the best, I definitely have to give the edge to Megadeth here. Megadeth, obviously, they lost Chris Broderick. He left the band. With him missing, that it was a huge kind of guitar element and instrumental element for Megadeth. They also lost their drummer, who stepped up to the plate other than Mr. Chris Adler. And, when Chris Adler kind of comes into the scene, shit's about to get pretty real. So, he did a great job of offering a kind of a fresh take, ideas into the band. I felt, he the new lineup kind of added something that was pretty refreshing, almost in the sense that Anthrax's new record I felt was kind of like refreshing. I'm a really big John Donne fan, and I feel like when those bands that have been around for so long, maybe adding a new element or something that's a little bit fresher with some new ideas, isn't maybe a bad idea. I feel like Dystopia is a really good cadence to that.
Dystopia.
Coming in at number 6, we have Dream Theater's The Astonishing. I saw them this year, and they were fantastic. The Astonishing is a double album, and it's one that requires a great deal of diligence to listen to. Not in the sense that this record doesn't have much to offer musically or is intriguing in any way, but more so in the sense that it's just very long. This record, the whole experience is going to run you over 2 hours, and Dream Theater really, they typically do things like this, but this record is very long, but it's very good. John Petrucci, amazing player, amazing songwriter, and The Astonishing moves and flows like a traditional I wouldn't say a traditional Dream Theater album. They usually do kind of like concept albums, but this one just flows in a way that I hadn't really been impacted by a Dream Theater record previously. If you've not listened to much Dream Theater, please go and listen to Dream Theater. There's so much to just be found there. Let's move on now. We got, coming in at number 5, we have the Animals as Leaders record. Sorry, my voice just changed. It's the madness of many. This is their 4th record. Animals as Leaders is one of those bands that I really wouldn't even so much place them in the gent genre anymore after this album. I would place them probably more in the very progressive jazz side of things. But it does still gent. Toastin's still thumping on that 8th string, and it is very diverse. John had a tougher time listening to it, and I almost kind of did. But for the most part, it just was Animals as Leaders, in their almost traditional form. If you're a gent fan, or even a jazz fan, or anybody, anything like that, please check that out. I found this year that a lot of the records that I liked were ones that kind of fell in this middle gap of very progressive, kind of like jazz, and then gent. There was kind of like a sweet spot that a couple of records really hit that I liked, that were stimulating. So definitely check this out. All right, so coming in at number 4, we have Korn's Serenity of Suffering. Korn's kind of fallen off in the past couple of years for me, and this was a great step back to greatness. Korn has returned to their true form on this record, with a lot of great odes to albums like Issues, Follow the Leader. This was so nice to hear. Korn kind of went in this mode where they were kind of producing like dubstep material, and I just really wasn't feeling it like when it came out. I mean, I would listen to it, but it wasn't the same Korn. It wasn't the same like just grungy, raunchy Korn that I just like demanded. I've demanded since I was a kid. This band's been around like most of my life. So they got Brian Welch back, got a head back. They get the regular lineup going on except for their drummer. And Korn, anytime I've ever seen Korn either live or heard them in the studio, they've never truly disappointed me. I hold Korn to very high standards, so when I say that a Korn record wasn't good, I still mean that it's probably better than most records. I remember Rotting in Vain, the first single that came out. We knew right away that we were dealing with something that was a lot different than the previous record, and we were really hoping. I remember just saying to John, I was like, John, this is gonna be great. And it came out when we were in Sacramento, and we reviewed it there. Check out the review if you didn't watch it. This was just a really great record. Coming in at number 3, we have After the Burial's Dig Deep. This was a record that I had been waiting for for a long time. Wolves Within, was their previous record. That was a super amazing record for this band, major milestone for them. The year previous, they had lost, they lost Justin Lowe. He passed away, and it was very hard on them, for both the band and fans. So now they've kind of become a four-piece now, and this record was a really great ode to Justin in the sense that he had written, he'd been involved in a lot of the writing process, and he did a great deal of songwriting for this band. You can hear it, on a lot of the tracks. For example, Laurentian Ghosts, track 5, was the opening sequence to it was actually written by Justin and on his demo tape. And I think that really meant something to them, to be able to take his ideas. It was almost maybe like having him exist in the record, and it kind of immortalized him, forever in this record. There's a lot of grief to be found in this, and a lot of, you can hear the tribulations that they've been through, since he's been gone. So right out the door with Collapse and, Lost in the Static, songs that were just really, really great that people are going to want to listen to, that are fans of them, that are going to want to listen to them for a long time. So coming in at number 2, we have Periphery 3, Select Difficulty.
I knew it.
So this record was produced by Nolly, who's the bass player for Periphery. Well, he's now the studio bass player. He doesn't tour with them right now. Nolly's been very busy. This record is one of the best produced records I've heard in a very long time, on multiple fronts. Periphery really did a good job they've always done a very good job of making these kind of creative song structures. If you look at P1, it's kind of almost all over the place. But it does this and is so chaotic, but still manages to retain its framework. You went to P2, where Spencer kind of started doing this thing with his vocals, where he was kind of going really high on the register, and Periphery really started to develop their sound that they have now, which they've really showcased in P3. And P3 just kind of continued that. P3 really, I feel like the band has kind of centered themselves now and really defined their sound and really what they were kind of going for here. They've really nailed down and found a balance with the song structure and being able to keep the kind of intricate parts that they make. The record kind of started off heavy with songs like The Price Is Wrong and Motor Mouth and stuff like that, and then you have songs that are really bright and vibrant, like The Way the News Goes, and songs that are really kind of heavy and intricate lyrically and musically, like Flatline, which is about suicide and bullying. The record presents a lot of different concepts that you'll find really sticking around the more you listen to it. And I feel like they just really nailed it on this one. So, yep, P3, Select Difficulty, check that out. So good. Obviously, at number 1, we have the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
No way.
I do like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but no, it's not the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Coming in at number 1 is Meshuggah, The Violent Sleep of Reason.
I knew it.
The Titans are back. Meshuggah and I just have a very, very special relationship with this band. Emotionally and mentally, they've always kind of wrote about things that I just kind of like clicked. Their music is just always just part of none. It's just so heavy. It's just ridiculous. Even when the track list dropped, we're looking at it, it was like Born in Dissonance, Nostrum, you know what I mean? They had the 2 songs that had come out. I remember just seeing Clockworks, and Clockworks just blew me away, dude. If you've never seen Meshuggah live, I beg you, if you enjoy heavy music, watch Meshuggah live. You will not regret it. When I started hearing the songs, I was picturing what it was going to be like live. The album goes through all sorts of different concepts and stuff like that. It deals with things like religion, almost self-termination. It peaks and goes through some different things, and this record just had so much to offer, and it was a nice change of pace almost from Colossus, because I love Colossus, but the production on Colossus sounded like too compressed. And when I heard this record, I wanted that big room-filling sound from Meshuggah. That's what you want from a band like this. You want the pressure from what they're playing, and this record absolutely delivered that. They did a good job. They all actually, we talked about it in the review, but they recorded everything in the same room and played it almost like a live record, to the point where when Born in Dissonance actually came out, the last 2 seconds you could actually hear somebody get up off of a chair. that's how raw these tracks were. You know, a lot of people will that if they don't get into Meshuggah, they just be like, eh. But this record, just the grooviness of it is just so true to Meshuggah, and it just shows that, you know, even though they're getting up there in age, they're still just absolutely destroying people. When we saw them in Sacramento and they played Clockworks, it hit that 4-minute bass drop, and it was just, dude, just bodies went everywhere. Bodies went everywhere, man. These guys are like almost 50 and they're still doing this. That is my number one for the year, Meshuggah, The Violent Sleep of Reason. So good. Listen to it very loud. There's my top 10. If you made a top 10, or you know, you had any input about anything that we talked about or I talked about, leave it in the comment section below. We'd be more than happy to read it. We got to think about, you know, who's going to be coming out with material, but we're going to start getting into the flow for the new year. We're looking forward to another year of doing Review Realm. So catch you on the flip side.